So, what if I told you that the fastest plane ever built wasn't designed with supercomputers? Nope, it was designed back in the 1960s with slide rules and just pure, raw ingenuity. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of the SR-71 Blackbird, a plane so far ahead of its time it could literally outrun a missile.
Just look at this thing. It is an absolute masterpiece of engineering. It looks like it belongs on a galaxy far, far away, right? But the SR-71 Blackbird isn't some prop from a sci-fi movie. It's a very real aircraft, born right in the middle of the Cold War, at a time when the whole digital revolution was, barely even a thought.
So here's the big question. How do you build a plane that's basically untouchable? That was the challenge facing the engineers at Lockheed. In a world where spy planes were getting shot out of the sky, the only real answer was to build something that was just too fast and flew too high to ever be caught.
And the answer came from a place that was totally shrouded in secrecy, Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works. Now, these weren't your everyday engineers. These guys were pioneers, and their whole job was to completely rewrite the rulebook of aviation, to build a plane that just shattered what everyone thought was possible. So what really made the Blackbird so special? Well, let's just take a look at the numbers, because honestly, they're not just impressive, they are absolutely mind-bending.
Try to imagine this. You're flying at over 2,200 miles per hour, so high up that you can actually see the curvature of the Earth below you. Well, that was just a normal day at the office for an SR-71 pilot. From up there, they could photograph an area the size of Ohio in just 60 minutes. Incredible.
And this, right here, is where the genius of the Blackbird really shines. See, while other planes were trying to be sneaky, trying to hide from radar, the SR-71 had a much, much simpler solution. Pure, unadulterated speed. I mean, if you can outrun anything they can possibly throw at you, who needs stealth?
So why did they need to build this incredible machine in the first place? Well, the answer is a classic story of Cold War tension, a high-stakes game of cat and mouse being played in the skies over the Soviet Union.
Before the Blackbird, there was the U-2. Now, it was a high flyer for sure, but it had one fatal flaw. It was slow. And in 1960, that weakness was put on full display when Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Soviet airspace. It sparked a massive diplomatic crisis. The message couldn't have been clearer. America needed a new spy plane, and it had to be one that couldn't be touched.
Okay, so you've decided to build the fastest plane in the world. Easy enough, right? Well, now comes the hard part. How do you actually make sure it doesn't just disintegrate at 2,000 plus miles per hour?
At Mach 3, the air itself basically becomes your enemy. The friction is so intense that the plane's skin heats up to over 600 degrees. That's hot enough to melt the aluminum used in most planes. The Blackbird would have been nothing but a fireball in the sky if it wasn't for a totally groundbreaking new material.
And this is where the Skunk Works engineers really showed their genius. They built the Blackbird mostly out of titanium, a metal that could actually handle that insane heat. But even titanium expands, right? So they came up with this brilliant solution, a corrugated skin that could literally flex and stretch as the plane heated up in flight.
Now, this really clever design had a very strange side effect. On the ground, the Blackbird was kind of a leaky mess. It was constantly dripping its special jet fuel. But get this, that wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. Once the plane got up to speed and all that metal expanded from the heat, the leaks would seal themselves up, creating a perfect airtight skin.
Building a heat-resistant airframe was one massive challenge. But the engines were on a whole different level of impossible. A normal jet engine would have been torn to absolute shreds at Mach 3. The Blackbird needed something special, something that had never, ever been built before. And the answer was this, the J-58, an absolute masterpiece of engineering from Pratt & Whitney. It was a true hybrid, kind of like a mechanical shapeshifter that could transform itself from a traditional jet engine into a high-speed ramjet while in flight.
So how did this magic trick actually work? Well, at takeoff, the J-58 acted like a pretty conventional turbojet. But as the Blackbird picked up speed, a series of bypass tubes would open up, turning it into this powerful, afterburning beast. And then, at Mach 3, the engine would transform again, basically becoming a ramjet that could just gulp down air at supersonic speeds.
But trying to tame this beast of an engine was a really dangerous game. If the airflow wasn't managed perfectly, the engine could unstart. And that was a violent, nasty event that would send a massive shockwave through the aircraft and put the pilots in some serious, serious trouble.
I mean, can you imagine flying at 2,000 miles an hour?
and one of your engines just suddenly quits on you? That's what an unstart was like. The plane would lurch sideways with so much force that pilots' helmets would literally bang against the side of the cockpit. It took years of work and the development of some very early computers to finally get that problem under control.
But all of that hard work, all that incredible innovation, it paid off. Oh, did it pay off. The SR-71 became a true legend, a symbol of American ingenuity that still just captures our imagination today.
For 3 decades, the Blackbird flew missions over some of the most dangerous places on Earth, and in all that time, not a single one was ever lost to enemy fire. That right there is the ultimate testament to the brilliance of its design. 0. From the swinging 60s all the way to the dawn of the new millennium, the Blackbird was the undisputed king of the skies. And back in 1976, it cemented its place in history by setting a speed record that still stands, completely unbroken to this very day.
Today, the Blackbirds are silent. Their sleek, black frames gather dust in museums. But they are so much more than just relics of a bygone era. They're a powerful reminder of a time when we dared to dream big, to push the absolute boundaries of what was possible, and, to reach for the stars.
So, as we look to the future, with its drones and its satellites, it's really worth asking, have we lost the courage to build something as bold and as beautiful as the Blackbird? Or is there still a place for that kind of human ingenuity and sheer daring in a world that seems to be more and more dominated by machines?